going on, guys? Kendra Douglas here, and you're watching Courtside Countdown, the pregame show to get you ready for tonight's game. The Orlando Magic, they are going to be taking on the Charlotte Hornets tonight here at the Kia Center. It is the last game of 3 that we've had at the Kia Center before the All-Star break. So I'm so excited for this team to get ready for All-Star break, and I'm so excited to see the Magic try to finish with a win. They're gonna get a win tonight against the Charlotte Hornets here at the Kia Center. Before we get into things, don't forget to subscribe to all the social media channels for the Orlando Magic. I'm talking YouTube, I'm talking Twitter, I'm talking TikTok, I'm talking Facebook. We got it all. Whatever you think, we have it. So that way you can continue to stay in the know of what's going on for the Orlando Magic and what's happening. Also, make sure you guys are chiming in. This is about you guys. This show is specifically dedicated to you, the fans, to chime in so I can read your comments, questions, concerns. So what are you guys excited about? Let's get to the question of the day so far. Tell me, what has been your favorite moment so far this season for the Orlando Magic? I've loved seeing how people talk about some of the comeback wins, some of the gritty wins, some of the last chance wins, and some of the game winner events. So you guys tell me, what have been some of your favorite moments from the Orlando Magic season this year? And I will try to get to some of them as soon as we can. All right, so the Magic, they're looking to bounce back today because, as we know, they had a very tight game against the Atlanta Hawks just the other night here at the Kia Center. Let's get to those highlights to look at just kind of how it went down and what happened in that game. It was, one of those moments where, as we take a look at this, of course, it's always been a tight game between these two because the last couple of meetings have been neck and neck. But the big difference between the teams was the bench scoring for sure. The Hawks outscored the Magic 54-25. Now, the game was tied at the halfway point of the fourth quarter. And what is interesting is that the Magic, they were able to keep Trae Young with just 4 points at the half, but he was just able to make 3 straight shots in that fourth quarter to give the Hawks just control. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, they both hit 30-plus in the game for the second time this season. The two combined to take 51 of Orlando's 78 shots from the floor and were the only Magic players to finish in double figures. That is definitely something where I'm sure the Magic, they went over that to look at how they can change that to get everyone involved. So be on the lookout for that as well. Coach Mosley spoke about the turnovers. We're also concerned for them as the Magic had 18, which led to 20 Hawks points. As you see, those are your final stats from the game. Franz Wagner, another 37 performance from him. He's already had, this is his second time getting that. 106 to 102. Just a tough game for this Magic squad. We knew 106 to 112. We knew that it was going to be a tight one. We knew that it was going to be difficult for this Magic team. As you can see, they got outscored in rebounds and assists. So overall, those are the things that they're going to have to look forward to and try to bounce back in tonight's game. And the thing is, they are going to see the Hawks again. So I'm sure that they are going to try to figure out a way to limit Trae Young again, which they did a phenomenal job. Let's talk about that for a moment. They did a phenomenal job limiting Trae Young in the beginning of the game. He just got off to a hot start in that fourth quarter. So we can't limit the fact that they did do a good job on him throughout the night. It was just that fourth quarter. He really got busy. He really got going. All right, let's get to some of your comments. All right, hey, Kendra. Hey, Will Dawson. Good to see you on here today. Some of your guys' favorite moments. 3-point in LA, of course. Beating the Heat is always good. Of course it is. And then the Magic, of course, need a statement win. So hopefully they will get a statement win tonight. Also, Jay Ramirez, audio low, or am I going to? I don't know. I think the audio is pretty hot. I think you might want to just turn up the volume a little bit, Jay Ramirez, on that one. So hopefully it's a user error because we are loud. I hear myself being loud in my ear. So we are super loud today. Okay, so kind of picking up where we left off with this Hawks game, let's talk about Franz Wagner in just a game that he had the other night as well. So Franz just ultimately finished with 37 on the night. This was the third time this season that he has scored 37 for the Magic, twice within the month of February. He had 20 at the half and then 13 in the fourth quarter to help chip away at that, Magic's lead, at the Hawks lead, excuse me. And here are his numbers from where he is so far this season. If we can take a look, as you can see right there, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. But here are his numbers so far this season. He's averaging 25.4 points, a little bit more than 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. We continuously talk about his performance and just this playmaking ability and what he's been able to really help accomplish and be able to do with this team. It's so good to see Franz have these games, and I know we're all happy to see him have these games, but of course the big thing too is how do you get everyone else involved? That's always going to be the question, especially after last night's game when those two are the only guys that scored in double figures. So that'll be the point of emphasis, I think, going into this game. Coach Mosley spoke a little bit before saying how he wants to see just his team have more energy, have more aggression. And I think the idea is to get everyone involved. And hopefully the Kia Center will be packed tonight. So that way you guys, the fans, can see everyone get involved and possibly, get that double figures for multiple players, especially from the bench, because the Magic rely on the bench heavily. And it'd be great to see them get a good win as well. Paolo Banchero, also another 30-plus point performance the other night, too, against the Hawks. When you see his game and what he's been able to accomplish this season, you know he's also coming back, trying to get into this. 30-plus point game, 20 points in the third quarter, the most he's ever scored in a single period, went 4 of 6 beyond the arc, 7 from 12 from the field. And he's just also been able to be someone to really help this team. Now, here is something interesting. So when you look at what him and Franz have done, Paolo and Franz, they are one of a quartet of NBA teams with multiple players averaging at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. So those teams also include the Lakers, OKC, and the Raptors. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit. Here are his numbers so far this season when you look at them. Of course, they're going to increase. They're going to get better because I really genuinely believe that after this All-Star break, we're going to see a different team that's going to come out. They're going to be a little bit more refreshed. They're going to be able to work on those injuries, those bumps, those bruises. So I'm excited to see what Paolo is able to accomplish going into the rest of the season. So let's get back to some of your comments and questions and everything that you guys want to talk about so far. Okay, Franz should have been an all-star. I know. We know this. We know this. He should have. Him and Paolo, they should have. But this is, again, going to give these guys an opportunity to relax a little bit, be able to get rested and prepare for the next little bit of the season. Hopefully, really just lock in a little bit more because the Magic, they need wins. They need some big wins. Let's get some more comments from you guys. Need a statement win. Yes, this team, they're going to need a statement win tonight for sure because you want to go into the All-Star break with a little bit of momentum. So that way when you come out, you kind of like hit the ground running. So I agree. This is going to be a big one where they're going to need a little bit of momentum. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings, though, and just where the Magic are sitting and where they're at. Because as we know, this game and between the Hawks, it meant a lot for them when it came to the Eastern Conference standings. The Magic fall to 26 and 29 on the season, and now that sits them at 9th below 500. But there's still time to bring that up, get some help from other teams. But the Magic, they do have to do their job in getting some wins so that way we can see them make a run at the playoffs. But you don't like what you see, Dan Savage, because you know that this Magic team can bring so much more to the plate. But you are hoping that with the help of other teams on this one, they can increase where they're sitting in the Eastern standings. And then hopefully you hope that this All-Star break will allow them to get that rest they need so that way they can come and hit the ground running and prepare for a better showing.
No, look, Gary Harris said it best at shoot-around this morning. Everything that the Orlando Magic want is still in front of them. If they want to go play hard basketball and improve their style of play over these last 27 games, they can certainly do so and find themselves in a position where they could be hosting a game here at Kia Center. Mm-hmm. But it's going to require them to be locked in and play similar end-of-the-season stretches to what they've done in the past because we've seen them finish the season strong before.
Yeah, we sure have. So let's get to some of the sound because the guys, they have talked about a little bit about how they want to bounce back going into this game.
Keeping our defensive identity, not just staying consistent. I think our ability to defend the right way, get back in transition, offensively sharing, moving the ball, the pop, the energy that happens when you move and share the basketball, and just keep that chemistry up, building into after the break.
In the winning column by any means necessary. I think this is an important game going into the break. Just to kind of get our swag, feeling good going into the break, and then understanding that every single game after this break is going to be very important. Tonight is a very important one for sure.
We have everything we want right in front of us. I mean, we control our own destiny. So we're still in a good position. I know we've dropped games and we haven't really caught a rhythm this past month, but I mean, granted, of all the things that's happened, all the games we dropped, we still control our destiny, and that's to go to the playoffs and make noise in the playoffs. So we got to focus on tonight and getting the win, and regroup for the break, and then come out strong after the break.
All right, that was Jamal Mosley, Wendell Carter Jr., and Gary Harris all speaking at shoot-around this morning. And you were there at shoot-around this morning, so tell me a little bit about just the energy that you could feel from this team. How are they feeling going into tonight's game?
Yeah, watching the shoot-around, you would not know it was the shoot-around before an all-star break. These guys were locked in. I thought the energy was tremendous because the first thing you're thinking when you're walking into that building today is, all right, are these guys locked in on the last game, or are they already planning with their, heads down the road of what comes after this, what the plans are, what places they may go on vacation, how they might rest and recover. But it looked like a locked-in shoot-around. I was very impressed with that. On top of it, to a man, the guys are very aware that this is an important momentum builder heading into the break. And look, everything you do during All-Star break tastes a lot better, is a lot better if it goes with a win, and these guys realize that. And if there's not a more perfect trap game, look, the Hornets have a lot of guys out.
Right.
Their record is not good.
Right.
And on top of that, you have the All-Star break here. So all the factors for what you would have for a trap game are here. But as of right now, it appears that the Magic have done everything possible to prepare for this one like it was going up against a defending champion team.
I love that you said that because you can't underestimate any team. We saw that with Utah, and we've seen that with a couple teams in Toronto. So you can never underestimate any team just based off their record at all. So I love that they're continuing to keep that energy. When you look at this Charlotte Hornets team, though,
the
they're
depleted
struggling.
Hornets team.
Yeah, they are struggling pretty hard when it comes to just their numbers and their bodies right now. Let's take a look at their last 5 games, and it's been rough for the Hornets for sure. As you can see, within those last 5, they've only gotten 1 win, and that was against the San Antonio Spurs. A tough win at that, too. Mm-hmm. So overall, how difficult is it being a Charlotte Hornets fan right now and seeing, just guys injured?
No question. Look, if it's one thing the Magic can relate to, it's being extremely depleted. They've played stretches this season where they've been out a number of their top scorers. The Hornets are currently down 5 of their top 6 scorers.
Yep.
When you factor in players that they traded, they're down 2. They only have 2 of their top 11 scorers on this season. So this team is heavily depleted. But what that means is you have other guys who are really hungry and eager to prove that they belong in this league. You have a guy like Miles Bridges, who has proven before he can carry a heavy scoring load. You have Nick Smith Jr. stepping up. And when you talk about hungry guys, look, there's a guy, Elfrid Payton, there who put up plenty of triple-doubles in this building, and he's eager to prove he belongs in the league again, and he may get some court time tonight.
I think also when you look at this matchup, too, and how they fare against each other, what are going to be some of the things? We'll get to your storylines. Let's look at actually the comparison right now this season. What I thought was interesting is the Magic have 38 games where they have had more offensive rebounds than any other opponent with 38. But the Hornets have had 32. So that is going to also be a point of emphasis going into tonight's game.
I know, and the graphic there is going to be a challenge because Jonathan Isaac last second ruled out with a back injury, felt some tightness, had that hard fall last game. You wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with it. But you're going to be missing his defense, his offensive rebounding, which have proven to be big factors. So you look at a Hornets team that's hungry and trying to figure out ways to win. The first way you go about doing that is creating extra possessions, dominating on the glass. So that's going to be a big factor for guys like Goga, guys like Wendell Carter Jr., and other bigs like Paolo, Tristan. Those guys are going to have to step up and contribute on the glass tonight as well.
Yeah, and the Magic, they've won 8 of their last 10 meetings against the Hornets. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner had an exceptional game the other night. But of course, the emphasis too was that none of the other guys were scoring in double figures. So I guess when you look at tonight's game, how do you want them to get everybody involved tonight?
I think the best way to do that is to play with pace and capitalize on other teams' mistakes. And so in transition, if teams are turning the ball over, if you can be effective in that manner, push it out, a lot of guys can get involved. On top of that, one of the things they looked at in shoot-around today especially is just timing, spacing. Those elements are so key. It's not only just making cuts, as people talk about all the time, let's see some more off-ball movement. It's not only just doing that, it's doing that at the right time. And those things can be tricky when other teams are, in a way, challenging you to shoot the three-point shot. So the Magic have to be very decisive, trust in one another, and if they can start to build that chemistry, things will open up for them, and they'll find easier paths to the paint.
We hope that. All right, let's get to some comments, some questions, some concerns. Of course, Suggs being back is desperately needed. He brings the energy all night. We are well aware of what Jalen Suggs does for this team.
Everybody is.
Everybody is well aware. This whole building is. But this is also an opportunity to allow other guys to bring that energy as well, which I think is very needed because you do need it to be a collective unit and not just your starters.
No, and the best thing about the All-Star break is it allows guys to rest, rehab, and get healthy. For a number of these Magic guys who maybe were out a while, finalize some things, rehab a little bit, get their conditioning up. And for Jalen Suggs, it really allows him to put himself in a position to be back come the end of the All-Star break.
It sure does. Let's get to some of your game notes and your storylines for tonight's game because it's going to be a big one, hopefully, for the Magic. All right. Play to the Magic standard. Let me know what that's about.
Yeah, no. We all know what the Magic standard looks like. It's being a dominant defensive team, and then on offense, it's sharing the basketball, being crisp, smart with it, playing with pace. We need to see the Magic do that, establish that before the break. Limit bridges. Look, water is not under the bridge tonight. It's got to be focused with him. He's going to try to put up some big numbers. The scoring load's going to be on him. Take him out of the game. The Magic have the defensive stalwarts to do that. And then set the tone for the rest of the season. Wendell Carter Jr. said it best in his sound. The next 26 games after tonight are probably the most important regular season games of his career. That's because this team has expectations, and they know where they want to be come April and May. So by having a dominant performance going into the All-Star break, that creates the momentum and sets the tone for where they want to be the rest of the season.
And you really want this team to really come out and finish this break and go into this break with that momentum. You really do. Just because it has been a tough challenge for them. That West Coast trip did not help this Magic team coming home, seeing the Spurs, and then, of course, the Hawks. Those two games, you really wanted them to go 3-0 before the break, but now is a great opportunity for them to really finish off 2-1, excuse me, and be able to bounce back and get that momentum. When you also think of guys like Anthony Black and Cole Anthony and what they're being able to do and what they've been able to help out this Magic team, what have you liked about their playmaking ability and what they're seeing when they're on the court?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen defensively, Anthony Black has been really good. He is every bit as advertised. Offensively, we see two different Anthony Blacks night to night. There's the guy who scores 20 points, one night and looks extremely effective. And then the next night is a little bit more passive. He needs to be aggressive. That's when he's at his best. And look, sometimes as a young guy, when you're on the court with Paolo and Franz, those are two incredible playmakers. It can be a little intimidating. You can be trying to figure out your place. But I think those guys recognize as well, this Magic team is at their best when he's playing aggressively. Take the open shots when they're there, regardless of whether they're falling or not, because that opens up the rest of the offense. And it allows them to play with the proper timing as well. So just more consistency out of Anthony Black. Cole has been great. He's stepped up offensively. Just want to continue to see that out of him.
And we just saw Paolo Banchero because he's working out on the court just now. Let's talk a little bit more about Paolo. I think it's been very difficult for him to really get going coming back from his injury. But his first game, he had 34 points in the other night. So this is his second 30-plus game since returning from injury. What is it? What is it about it? Is it just, he's still trying to get his legs under him? Is it just, the opponents the matches that he's going up against? What is it?
Well, look, when any team starts their scouting report, the number one thing on there is how do we slow down Paolo?
Yeah.
How do we slow down Franz? How do we get the ball out of those guys' hands? So he sees double teams nightly. That's something he's not used to. I think what's something that he's not used to is having to come back from an injury. You look at the course of Paolo's career, whether it be from high school to college, it's one of the things Jeff Weltman talked about that they really liked about him as a prospect is that he didn't have an injury history.
Right.
So this is something he's not necessarily accustomed to having to do. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is during the offseason, during the build-up in the preseason, there is a ton of practice time. You could really focus in and hone on things. During this stretch, the way that they've been on the West Coast, etc., there is not much practice time.
No, there isn't.
Shoot-arounds are designed to focus on game plans, etc. So it's really hard to get your conditioning level back to where it was without just going through games and building reps. And I think that's what Paolo's going through now. Yeah. What I think I've liked what I've seen from him is he had a game winner one night, followed it up with a 30-something point performance, and I really think we're starting to see him come out to it. So I think this game and the ones after All-Star break can be really big and continue to be the Paolo we know and love.
It'd be great to see him get going again tonight because he did have a phenomenal performance, but it would be good to see everybody start to do well. So before we get going, of course, the biggest things coming up is to support the Magic in the All-Star break because we have multiple players who will be there. A lot of guys. Trevelyan Queen, Mac McClung, we have Tristan Da Silva, we have Anthony Black. So don't forget, you guys, to support the Orlando Magic as they are going to participate in all the activities. Mac McClung going for a three-peat in the dunk contest. And then also he will be joining AB and Tristan in the Rising All-Stars game, in the Rising Stars Challenge game. Coach Mosley talked about how this is such a great accomplishment for them. On top of that, they get to take their families. For AB to have this moment, it's funny, I was talking to him about this when we were in Utah because the reason how he found out was Coach told him to come talk to him when we were on the plane, and he thought he was in trouble. And he was so scared to talk to Mosley about it, but then he told him. But I said, do you remember when we were in San Antonio last year and we were waiting for you to hear if you were going to make it, and he didn't. But just to be able to accomplish that, just a year later, the growth that he's had, how cool is it for Anthony Black to have this moment?
No, I think what it does when you go there and you play and you're a top prospect like Anthony Black, who's drafted 6th overall, has the potential, the raw potential to be a guy who could be a star in this league. What I think it does for them is they get around other guys who are their peers.
Yeah.
They size themselves up against that and say, I belong amongst this group. And then what you do is you watch the performances of guys on Saturday and Sunday night, and it creates all the more motivation for wanting to play on that stage and be among the league's best. And then, you get to rub elbows with other guys, pick up pointers. It's always good to hear, for Paolo, he got to spend time and hear from guys like Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony at various stages. And he said that what those guys said was all he needed to hear. Those were guys he looked up to. For Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, guys like Trevelyan Queen, etc., they're going to have the opportunity to be around those guys in a casual setting and in some event settings. And they could hear the advice or whatever that helps propel them and give them the confidence. So it's a great weekend from that perspective. Could give guys a lot of confidence as they're going along their basketball journey.
Yeah, but when the Magic return, it'll be all hands on deck. So let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Orlando Magic and what's to come. So as you can see right there, we're not done with Trae Young just yet. Well, there's another chance for the Magic to be able to get a win against the Atlanta Hawks come February 20th. Then after, they will be back home taking on Memphis, and then they will see DC. We haven't seen DC yet at all this season. Another opponent where we're seeing these teams so late in the season, which you hope is a great chance for these Magic squad to take advantage of that.
No question. I mean, there are some games in that stretch that you expect this Magic team to win if they expect to play to their standard. get a chance to get some revenge on the Hawks on their home floor.
Yep.
And set the tone for what the rest of the season could be. Look, those next 26 games after the break are going to be really important. And I think it's going to start to create the part of the season where on a nightly basis you're looking, what did these teams do in front of us? What did we do? And so playing with that pressure, I think the Magic learned what that was like last season.
Yeah.
And I think some of the teams around him may not have experienced it as much before, and other ones are more seasoned at it. So it'll be an interesting part, but I like the Magic chances. If they stay healthy, if guys are coming back like Jalen Suggs, that this last 26 games could be their best of the season to date.
Yeah, for sure. So tonight will also be a big moment because after the game, you can watch Inside the Magic, the life of Pat Williams. So that's going to be a special one.
Very special.
Very special. I mean, we're here because of Pat Williams, essentially. I had a great opportunity of getting to know Pat and going to lunch with him, talking with him about the Magic. Years after he's been so far removed from the organization, he's still so close. He was here for Shaq's jersey retirement as well. Just a great guy who was able to create such an amazing opportunity for players, fans, and Orlando.
One of my best friends that I've made since working for the Magic for the last 16, 17 years was Pat Williams' assistant.
Oh.
And so quite often during the off season, the lead up to the draft, summer league, Pat would come in and he called me Wolf because I volunteer at a wolf sanctuary, and he'd be like, Wolf, what do we got? How are we solving these problems? And just have the opportunity to run down and talk prospects, talk ball with a guy who had done it on the highest level, founded a team, won a championship in Philadelphia, and he was always so down to earth. He had season ticket holders who he would pick up the phone call with and talk draft with them.
Yeah.
I mean, those type of guys don't exist anymore. Pat was truly one of a kind, a visionary, wrote over 100 books, ran a million marathons.
I have a couple of them.
And just a zest for trying to learn more about basketball and life. He was always thirsty for knowledge. So if you're a fan and you want to pay tribute to Pat Williams, read a book and watch this Inside the Magic. Have a thirst to learn a little bit more about the history of this organization.
Well said, Dan Savage. The one and only Dan Savage. I'm sure the group chat will also be excited to see. They were really happy about me talking about you on the group chat the other day. They love you. They love you.
That. Shout out to the group chat.
Shout out to the group chat. All right, that'll do it for us on Courtside Countdown. The Magic, they will take off tonight at 7 p.m., but before then, you can head over to FanDuel Sports Network to hang out with Dante and the crew for the Orlando Magic Live pregame show at 6:30 p.m. You guys, we have made it to the All-Star break, so we will see you after the All-Star break where the Magic will take on the Atlanta Hawks. Enjoy tonight's game. Last words?
Where are you going for All-Star break? What island are you hitting?
What island am I hitting? I'm hitting the Orlando Island. That's what I'm hitting. I'm going under a rock. What are you doing?
Staycation.
Yes, we love